This is Coffee with the Summerland Kids. This is episode 55. This is a full of Coffee with the Summerland Kids. The weather in Summerland today is 50 of 82. Oh my God. It's Friday, June 21st. Here we go.
There's a warm one at 82 in Summerland.
Like a straight summer kickoff already. It's like mostly sunny, so you know it's gonna be freaking amazing out there. You know.
I know that there's a heat wave coming this weekend. Going to be over 100 up here in Orville.
Huh. We had a pretty good rainstorm today in India because I've been going to local. I think I told you about it yesterday. Local place where I get this big pile of mulch, and I use a pitchfork and throw it in the back of the truck and take it home. And I went over some areas that get muddy at the house, and it's like it was pretty. We've had probably a few inches of rain in the past like 3 days.
Is it sprinkling any snow up on the mountains, or is it just wet rain?
No rain, and the river's running real strong. It's like you really notice it, I guess, out in the country. It's like it just really comes down up here sometimes. I guess when your land is a little bit like hilly and dirty, like style, you notice it more, like where the water's going. So I just had to re-up my program on how the water gets flows through, sure that it's not flooding anywhere or something.
Yeah, you got to get that drainage correct.
Yeah, totally.
I got a couple things I'm working on over here too to make sure that the rain doesn't flow the wrong way.
Yeah. So the house we're in now, it's only been there for like it's been there for 30 years or 35 years, but it was brought up by an older guy. I think he brought the house up from another location, an imported house.
Yeah.
And it's a good job, but it's not like A+ world class. It's kind of like, grade B, get it done truck that, so it's a little bit crudely done, with the foundation and stuff like that. So it's a what do you call it, a work in progress.
That's okay. I always sometimes I'll get into, there's so many knickknacks things in my house that could be addressed,
Yeah.
But then I have to stop and say, well, gosh, I'm pretty blessed because I got running water, hot water, furnace for when it's cold, the AC for when it's hot. I got a refrigerator with food in it. So, it's awesome. Interesting how, just your perspective on, is it good or bad?
Yeah.
Can affect things.
No, for sure. Jay brought Jason's been camping in the what do you call it? Ship, so I felt for him last night with the rain, because you really hear it on that metal roof of the container, when it's red. It's like a brick, So,
I mean, if you enjoy the sound of rain, I guess that could be a good thing.
I know,
like white noise or something. People sometimes turn on, they have little machines that turn on white noise to sleep to. Yeah. And I always like the sound of rain. I always like to hear the rain.
Right.
Tippy tapping.
I think he was actually mentioning that when he first came up, because to do his rain. I lost you. Situation.
I'm here. I'm just pressing buttons again.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to get it where I can see the.
Yeah.
Rather than the little thing in this corner, I want to see the whole screen. But I I still have a lot of stuff I got to figure out.
Yeah. The technology. I asked Aaron this morning about Zoom, and let the viewers know that you can join us anytime you like. I think we just have to the show, and then you can join the show if you like to join good times and fun early morning coffee talk. Here we go.
Yeah, I guess I haven't been doing that. I guess kind of in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, Jericho's got his friend up there helping him. He's trying to stay focused on the project. So like when you jump on, it's like, oh, let's get it going so that you can get back to your thing rather than taking a little bit of time to make sure I share the link out for joining. Because I think it would be fun to have, random people, even if not, someone that we know is coming on, but just someone else to come on. It's always fun to expand the conversation.
For sure. And I know we're on the early, so there's a certain type of people that are on this early now. And it's 7:50 a.m. here in Colorado, so it's 6:50 time. I mean, I remember it was a weekend thing, but sometimes I'd still be up right now from the night before. This was a few years back when I was working my night job. I'd be like, conversation after an entire night of my evening shift of work, or coming off the night shift with this conversation would have been classic.
So you're talking about the graveyard shift, like midnight to 8 a.m. or 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. I would work from like the end and do some chores, and then the really would start up 8, 9 o'clock at night, but really the party 11 to midnight to like 2 in the morning would really turn on, and then 2 to dawn is when it really would be hopping,
Oh yeah, that club scene.
Yeah,
that club scene downtown. The after parties. Yeah. Back when I was drinking, we'd be out at the club or whatever, and then the club's like, "Oh, we're closing down," and it just seemed like, "Oh no, the party's just getting started. Where are we going for the after party?" And like you're saying, events. Concerts and stuff sometimes don't get started till 8, 9 o'clock at night. And that's when things really start getting going. And, midnight is like, oh yeah, it's the middle of the night.
Right.
But it's the middle of the party.
It's the middle of the party. You're right. It's that application when I was doing it, like, to me, it was like, wait, when you close at 2, when the true like believers and like groundbreaking, all that stuff really kind of gets going at that time, because it's like the alternative artists that aren't on the stage somewhere else, or the ones that are keep playing later. So you really get some music and dance kind of vibes going. And it's also, they're super troopers for being up way past, and they look like it's 10 or it's but it's late, so
yeah. I guess some people have that built in. I know I've mentioned it before, where like the time you were born, I was reading a study somewhere where the time you were born is kind of the time you wake up. Like if you were a morning birth, you wake up in the morning. If you were an afternoon birth, you may sleep in until the afternoon, and that's normal for you. And some people were born in the middle of the night, and so that's their morning.
And then the people that wake up, they change their clock a little bit in some way, obviously, because sort of like I think they wake up and then dress up And that's essentially like the core of their day or the core of their life is spent in that in those hours. You know, in that normal sleeping time is someone else's most amazing.
I was working the graveyard shift, so my shift started at midnight, and it was just odd because I'd get off work at 8, and I'd be like dead tired from work, and I'm ready to go to bed, and everyone else was waking up. And then the same thing happened at the end of the day. You know, I had to wake up around 9 or 10 at night to get ready for work, to be there at midnight, and that's when everyone's going to bed. And in a way, it was cool. You know, for a while, I enjoyed it, but after a prolonged time, it wore on me. You know?
Yeah. Thankfully, I was just doing it on weekends. You know, it was like something I could recover from on Monday. I would be back to and I'm an early riser, as you noticed, and so that's my normal. Try to get off in the morning and get the coffee and get going, and challenging to break into the time to do your online, just Facebook. And Facebook is, I guess for some people it's not, as I don't know how people feel about it, but I still enjoy it, seeing what everyone's doing. Do you do a little bit of Instagram? Do you go back and forth?
I used to. I was actually watching a little video of a friend of mine that does online business and websites and coaching, business coaching and stuff, and they were having a discussion about that. You know, how like different platforms are kind of for different reasons. Like Instagram, maybe a little bit more personal pictures, and then like Pinterest, you see a lot of product pictures. YouTube would be for like your video format, and then Facebook. I like Facebook memes, so that's kind of my favorite thing about it. I know I haven't been doing many memes lately.
Right.
I do enjoy it. But I guess it's seasonal, like, I mean, realistically, human beings live through the seasons. We got winter and summer, and so it's just kind of natural, when fall comes, it's harvest time. So it's just kind of natural for, I guess, for humans that have been through so many generations of, it's harvest time. It's fall. It's time to work hard and late and get ready for winter. And then everything's stocked up, and now it's winter, it's snowing. So you can't really go out and do much. So you spend your time maybe reading books or sitting by the fire, and then spring comes and everything kind of pops to life, and you got to get out there and prep the land for planting, or get reinvigorated for life or business, or because everything kind of seems to start kicking into gear once spring comes in. And then summer, I think that summer is an interesting time because all the crops are pretty much planted, and everything's kind of just they call it the lazy days of summer. And I think that there's a reason for that, is because we got to store up some energy for the fall to harvest.
Right. What I've noticed, it's obviously, when you get home at, like, if you do get home, depending, it's like, that's, I guess, from noon to like 4 o'clock is the heat of the day. I guess that's not the most ideal time to work. I guess the best time to work would be early morning, or maybe early evening, in the evening time when it starts to get cooler out. Kind of like work with the rising sun and then work with the setting sun, core heat of the day. I guess it depends on what kind of work you're doing, but if it's outdoor work,
Oh, absolutely. I know that the heat wave, we got a heat wave coming up, and it basically is from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the peak of the heat is around 4 p.m.
in
the afternoon.
Wow. Yeah. So do you think, again, like for the summer for you guys, like getting some like, on particular days, are you keeping track high marks on the will this be your first summer up there?
No, this is going to be my second summer.
Oh,
We
cool.
moved in here on St. Patrick's Day. Lucky
Nice.
St. Patrick's Day.
That's
I
cool.
threw the dice when we signed all the contracts and
Yeah.
everything. They were talking Monday. Okay, everything will be done on Monday. And then we got up on Thursday to sign the paperwork. And it was just kind of up in the air on whether or not escrow would close on Friday. And it did. It closed on Friday. Otherwise, we would have had to spend the weekend in a hotel or camping or something. So
Okay.
it worked out in our favor.
That's awesome.
And it was interesting because it was raining, but it stopped raining for the day that we were unpacking the trailer and everything.
Sweet. Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. Feeling to be, home again, so to speak, in that mind space, the groove of life in the, in the zone like I have now. It's fifth growing season. I've been here since 2020. I think March 2020. And, the year's pretty wild. I mean, from March to July, when I first got here, it was the time, though, it was really an interesting time because it wasn't very kind of weird. Like, I remember going to the grocery store early in the mornings, and there was a line of people because they're doing the whole social. So that was just a weird situation.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we got a Facebook viewer. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
You got a couple early risers.
That's awesome.
I also, just thinking about the seasons, it is the first day of summer per se. In our lives, I guess there's kind of a season too. We got the spring of our life, the summer of our life, the fall of our life, and the winter of our life. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it kind of makes sense to me. When we're young, we're like, oh, we're the spring chicken. I mean, there's even cliches, we're as young as a spring chicken. And then I guess, summer days being longer, that's like the prime of your life. I guess where we're like, I guess towards the end of the summer in our lives or the middle of the summer where, eventually it's going to be fall and winter will be, going down towards the twilight of the day, the twilight of the year.
Yeah. I'm thinking 50 to me is like the halftime show, and I'll be 54 this summer, and it's like it feels like halftime is over. Get back in the game. It's like it's like game on. Gotta and sort of like pretend I'm 25 again, and to like fully live this second half with a new fresh view of what's up, because it feels like an open to, I can go many different directions, but I'm inclined to go certain I do. But I got to get through Grandpa's project, get him sorted out, and we're going to spend the days, and we're going to basically prepare for next week's work, set aside and boxed up for inventory. We're just focusing on the library, which is comic books, magazines, and books collection. And we've pretty much done most of all the comic books. We haven't touched upon the restaurant work, like Sambo's, Rusty's, Split PN, and he did some work for a couple local banks, I think. But I just want to have all inventory. We're creating like a digital little file, and just so we know what Grandpa left behind in his personal library collection.
Yeah, I like that analogy of it being halftime, because like, you know, we played the first half of the game, and now it's halftime.
Yeah,
We got to kind of figure out, okay, what did we do right, what did we do wrong, and what's our game plan for the rest of the game. You know, I guess
right?
they call us Generation X or something.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure exactly what that means. I guess people just come up with an idea and they say, "Oh, this is Generation X," and it sticks. I don't really understand how come we're called Generation X. I mean, the baby boomers, I guess that makes a lot of sense because everyone came back from the war or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, we're finally home. What do you do when you're home with your wife? Well, let's make some babies." And so they all, you know, we're making babies, and it's a baby boom, because now all of a sudden there's lots and lots of new kids around.
Right. I think our parents were basically boomers, right? Our parents were born in the 1940s.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they really kind of like lived a pretty magical existence, like, in, you know, being, let's say you were 5 in 1955 or 1955. I mean, that to me was like a really cool time in America. All coming out and everything felt so like alive. You know, like I think they mentioned it, like how it was sort of like the birth of the modern teenager happened in that 1950s. It was something different to be a teenager then, because it was like dancing, that whole movement that the previous generation, that freedom, I guess, a little bit more freedom. You know, and then all kind of popping out in the 1950s. There was just a whole vibe of like fresh, cool. It essentially was totally happening. Music, and then I mean, it seemed like it was just such an uplift from 50s, 60s, 70s. It was just a straight every year, just all this fresh, new, cool stuff happening. You know, I don't know what's happening now. Now we're sort of like in a mashup of every. I guess you can pick one and live it or something. You know.
Yeah, everything. I mean, when you're a kid, everything's new and amazing. And I mean, I guess we lived through the generation. You know, we didn't have cell phones like they do now. You know, where kids have cell phones when there's always been cell phones, but when we were kids, there wasn't cell phones.
Yeah.
And then they're computers, and now cell phones and internet and all these things coming of age. And it's cool because, you know, I like technology. I've been, you know, playing with it, studying it, using it most of my life. And I always thought when I was a kid, you know, we're watching these sci-fi movies, you know, with robots and computers, computer guidance, you know, Star Wars with C-3PO and R2-D2, you know, humanoid robots. And then you look at the news today and it's like, oh, how many different companies are actually making robots? There's actually companies with robot factories. And it's going to be so interesting to see, you know, by the time you and I are in our twilight years, I can just imagine, you know, maybe something like iRobot or something where actually, this is my personal robot, or maybe I have a couple robots, you know, like the fast food thing. You know, I've been seeing some advertisements here and there about the first completely automated robot fast food place. And, you know, people like Elon Musk, you know, saying, oh yeah, by the time such and such comes to full development, will it be necessary for you and I to go out and work? Or will there be robots that build the houses, that build the cars? You know, when they first started having the assembly line, it was like, oh, Henry Ford's got the assembly line. Look at how much inexpensive it is to make cars. Well, now they have robotic welders, robotic painters, robotic arms that do all these things. I can only imagine what it's going to be like in 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, it's mind blowing, really. It's like we're living in a society in that regard for sure. I mean, all those visions that those people had, and then later on came to television, and then later on, pulled. That's all that stuff is coming to realization now, for sure.
Yeah, I was. So you remember I got that space gun game, right? And it was like such a massive, heavy thing because of the big screen. The screen on it was just incredibly heavy. And now
Wow.
what do we got? Paper thin LED screens that basically I can pick up the whole computer and move it around like that, or cell phone in your hand. Look back when we were kids, and the first computer was a whole giant room.
Right? Amazing. I mean, there is some, thankfully, throwback, like rooms of video games like you're talking about still exist. And you mentioned an app where you can find things out in the world. If you're a gamer, you can find pinball machines, arcades or something like that in your area. So it's like a pinball machine locator.
Pinside and pin maps, I think, are the two that I'm familiar with. And yeah, it's nice. I guess I don't play as much anymore. I mean, to be honest, Jericho, just standing there, by the time I'm done with one or two games, my shoulders feeling achy, my low back, my feet, and it's like, I want to play all the games that are lined up, but I can only play one or two. But it's still fun. It's been a while since I've gone out and played. They got a good one up at the pizza places. A lot of times they'll have the arcade and the pinball, and it's a Godzilla, and it's a newer Godzilla. So it's got the Godzilla, and then it's got the baby Godzilla.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's kind of funny. It's fun because you get to certain levels, and then it pops up on a video screen. And it shows this little animation in between, the bonuses and stuff. And that's always fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. I guess Godzilla actually won Oscar this year. There was a movie that they made recently that a team of people from, I think they're probably from Japan, that they were probably animation and that, the technology department type of thing. That was pretty cool to see them. They were super excited, and they had little small Godzillas in their hands when they came up to accept the or whatever category they won this year. So that was pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played with my action figures. I remember being a kid. We used to have, I don't know if you played Army, have those little Army.
Sure.
You set them up and like throw little rocks or have little ways to knock them over. And
no, definitely.
I don't know. I guess there's still kind of stuff like that, but it's so much different. Like back before the little Army men, Katie Keene and your grandfather there, they had the paper cutouts, and I imagine people dress them up and do little fashion shows.
For sure.
And that's just evolved, Barbies, and then the Star Wars action figures. And now modern day, you can actually order action figures of your own likeness.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you watched Big Bang Theory, kind of that TV show. And it was like, oh yeah, you can order your my own action figure. So there's some things that are just classic, and go across generations. Like Katie Keene with the paper cutouts, and then when we were kids, the little Army men, and then Barbie, and now even online, I see all the time you commenting with your avatar. This Jericho going, yeah,
all right, exactly.
We're still kind of doing that, I guess. There's always going to be that imagination side of things.
Yeah, and that's what people, I guess, they definitely like it. Of course, I mean, there's a dopamine, the stoke you get from maybe just seeing yourself and or creating your own avatar, and that whole thing is like other than having to draw it, the computer is doing it for you, which is amazing. And then being in different, for different reasons, putting yourself out there, avatar style,
Yeah, I did that style back. It was called a Simpsonizer.
Okay.
And then there was also a South Park creator, and so when I first found those, I'm like, oh wow, I can be on The Simpsons, or I can be on South Park, and made myself as a kid in South Park, as an adult in South Park, and even as a Canadian. So I still have the little printouts. I don't know where the digital files are, but there's a couple of them out there. I know my YouTube avatar, I think I created on one of those avatar makers.
I love that one. That one's a cool one. It's like it's your exact your like your rep. Yeah, that's a good one. I really love that one. It's on your YouTube, right?
Yeah, the one on my YouTube, my Google profile pic or whatever.
Yeah, that's classic. That's a good. Well, man, I can't believe it's summer, dude. It's like officially here. It's on. For 2024. I think the Santa Barbara Solstice Parade is this weekend. Good, which is a blessing for them to have a traditional, like, sunny day parade. Blessing for them on that regard, because they put solstice workshop. I think they probably worked for a month building the floats. So I believe the parade is this Saturday in Santa Barbara.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. My kid got to do some work on the Rose Parade a couple years ago. So he said that was real exciting. He went out there and I guess in Pasadena and worked on some floats and whatnot.
That's cool. That's cool. That's great. Well, cheers, 55. It's summer. We're here early morning a.m. Let's have a wonderful day. Ta-ta for now, as Tigger says, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have a great day.
On Monday.